most secret restaurant in New York City, Bohemian, where they specialize in a rare breed of beef, wagyu. Let's go check it out.
A secret restaurant sounds esoteric, but it's actually the opposite of that. It's actually more welcoming.
Some people find it really negative that you have to know someone when you come here, but for us it's not a marketing ploy. It's more of we wanted to create a space where we can bring our friends and their friends bring their friends and so on and so forth, and it's a community that we just build. There's these two owners. One of them is the dreamer and the other guy is the operations. They just get drunk together and come up with these crazy ideas. We use the word agito, which is it's based in Russian, but it's literally a hideout. So having a secret base in all these different places around the world. They want to have at least one place on every continent. They are making a place on Isla. They want to find like the perfect hut to create the best environment to have scotch in. Ideally, we want to, 2 years from now, make a treehouse community somewhere along the Amazon in the jungle. And they have a guy who trained to be a camel caretaker, and he can take you through the Sahara Desert.
Do they need more friends?
Yes. Everyone is a friend of the restaurant.
We hear really, really amazing things about a specific breed that you guys work with called wagyu.
It's a very specific brand. It's made in Oregon. You get the crossbreed of the wagyu cow and domestic black Angus. So wagyu is Tajima cattle. So you get the really nice marbleization, the sweet fat from it. And then you have the leanness and like the nice protein from the domestic black Angus. So it's like the best of both worlds.
This is wagyu showrib,
Which is insane looking.
we're using for the sashimi cut. First of all, I need to prepare in a trim.
You don't need to cook something that has that much fat sliced that thin and then cut against the grain like that. Pretty much all the tenderness you need is already there.
So then we gotta put a little bit salt. Heat it a little bit. That makes the fat comes up a little bit. We have daikon radish here, chili on top, garlic cured with organic soy sauce, wasabi, makes nice and cooler with the ice.
Because there's so much fat in this and just the preciseness with the way you were slicing it against the grain, you can already tell it's just gonna melt in your mouth.
So we're going to do the tartare?
Top round,
I feel like you normally don't see meat quite that red unless you have like an older animal, which with the wagyu, you're letting those animals get about 8 to 10 months older, which is what we do with American grass-fed beef as well, which helps you not only get more time to put fat onto the animal, but also helps those muscles like really, really develop and deepen in flavor. And when you get the more depth in flavor, you also can see it in the color in the steak.
What's with the white bread?
the cheese inside, we're using mozzarella, Parmesan Reggiano, also Bardem blue cheese.
So that's a grilled
inside.
cheese.
Yeah, that's grilled cheese, yeah. Grilled Hossam.
Okay, we used to have a sandwich shop
Oh, really?
a couple years ago, and I am furious at how good and like simple this sandwich is. We were like racking our brains trying to come up with great sandwiches, and this is
just simple sandwich.
it's so incredible looking.
So just a couple capers and a little bit of finishing salt.
Salt and pepper, shallot, olive oil.
Flat iron?
Yeah, this is iron. See? I'm gonna cut a little bit. This is a fine salt using a kosher salt.
Double salt.
Yeah, double salt. That makes much more crunchy. This
Okay.
is make a base taste.
I would say normally you would go to an Outback Steakhouse and see a steak that big on the menu, but with the amount of fat that's in that steak, that's probably enough for 3 or 4 people almost in one steak.
So I noticed you keep putting the steak back to the salamander, back to the salamander. How are you cooking it?
Most steak have the crispy outside, medium rare part in the middle, inside with the layer. I want to
All the way.
all the way. That's gonna be more juicier.
I've never seen this technique before. It's really interesting to see. It's just cook it little by little, be patient, and you get a perfect medium rare all the way through.
So you will always finish with A little burnt rosemary.
Rosemary that makes more flavorful and eat customer hungry.
Yeah, just makes you hungry, gets your stomach ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Pro tip, always do what the chef does. Holy hell. Come on.
Wow. It tastes like a cooked steak, but doesn't have any of the cooked elements of actually searing it on the outside. It just tastes like the perfectly cooked center, but it's raw.
That fat is just unbelievable too. It almost tastes like smoky or like, I don't know how to describe it. And that flame was not gonna get any smoke on it. I just don't know how to describe this. I've never had a piece of meat that tastes like that. There's a lot of difference in diet. So with this, you're getting like this sweetness, you're getting this richness from the fat, and grass-fed beef, you can actually like taste grass. It's really, really interesting.
That was delicious.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for enjoying.
That is a really, really nice tartare.
Amazing texture on the tartare. It's hearty, yet super tender. Little blue cheese on the end.
Yeah, I didn't taste the blue cheese at all until the very end. Beef that just melts apart, then bread, then gooey cheese, then more bread. That shallot just kicks it up. Wow. Wow, you can still see the fat just hanging out.
Come on, Aki. Good Lord. It's really fatty, but very clean. I think Wagyu fat is higher quality. It's not just regular fatty grain-fed Angus beef. So what's weird for me is that because it's seared on the outside and eats like a regular steak, it's very familiar, but this is totally different than regular Wagyu. We think we know beef, and we work with it every single day, and this is so recognizable, yet so completely different than everything else we deal with. I just feel like I had my mind blown.
After being in the meat business for like 14 years now, I'm watching you and I'm still learning new stuff. It's incredible to watch.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting us in to try these very special cuts. It's always nice to learn something new, especially from someone who's mastered it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. Thank you.
Usually, we show you the kitchen.
That's right. But today,
We're on the farm! We are here at Kinderhook Farm with farmer Lee Ranney.
and friend.
To talk grass-fed beef, we are going to try 3 different steaks.
The ones that we normally get in the shop are from 28-month-old animals, and we're going to compare that to an 8-year-old animal and a 15-year-old animal. Never had it. Really want to try it. Really, 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 really hungry.
These are probably 20 to 26 months old. Before 1940, the average age of a harvested animal was 4 to 5 years. Now it's 12 to 15 months. Grain and feedlots have just totally changed the system. For us, with grass, because they grow so much slower, it takes between 22 and 36 months.
If the animals are generally going to be about 26 to 30 months, how do you end up with a bunch of animals a lot older than that?
So each year we have about 100 to 120 calves. Those mothers, if they're healthy and productive, will stay with us for between 8 and 12 years. Because of the aftershocks of the mad cow epidemic, no animal over 30 months can leave the slaughterhouse with the spine intact, because that's the place they're most worried about mad cow disease, even though there hasn't been any. But
It's a challenge to get a whole beef that is missing its entire spine, because it's something that they need to do on the kill floor, which is basically a finesse cut with a chainsaw.
processors don't like it.
So the perceived value of it goes down once it's over 30 months.
In an industrial system, what happens to the older animals?
They get put in the food chain for hamburger and cheap cuts and prepared meats and all the stuff that's disguised. But some of them, they're prime beef. They're very good eating.
So you know as well as anybody that over the last 2 years, everybody's obsessed with dry aging, and they'll
Get the
try
question
something.
all the time.
Yeah. Do you see a really big difference, like in the flavor from older animals?
Oh yeah, they had that much longer to have this incredibly diverse diet. They've walked around, used their muscles, different seasons. I mean, it all affects that.
Well, we're talking about all this complexity of muscles and flavors. Kind of want to check it out.
Let's do it.
don't have the bone on the 15, but you know, they did do a very nice job of taking it off on the 8. It still looks like a great steak.
Lee, which one are you putting money on, liking the most?
Just a gut feel. I think that one.
The 8 year.
Brent, what are you thinking?
I'm super excited about the 15.
I think I'm going 15. I'm kind of curious. I don't know. The older animals I think are best at rare. What do you think?
I think so. Yeah, but I think everything's better rare.
I'm a mid-rare because I think that it gives it a little bit more time to render the fat.
Let's live on the edge.
Yeah. And the yellow fat on that really old steak is just something else.
Want to wait the longest 5 minutes of your life? Let these rest?
If you've never had a grass-fed steak before, one of the first things you definitely notice is the meat and the fat are much less sweet. I guess before that would even be, you're gonna see like a little bit less fat on the cap.
I don't think it's as greasy. The fat tastes good, but it doesn't grease you up.
I'm gonna get us started on 28 months. So this is beef that we get every week at the shop.
This is kind of our control. We know this steak, we've had it before.
We know it's great. Here. It's clean, tender.
It's really good.
It's excellent quality this is our baseline. We're pretty freaking lucky. Also a huge difference that you can even see between these 3 steaks is the pigment that the fat does pick up. You know, the yellower the fat is, you can tell the older the animal is.
Keratin, yeah.
And man, that yellow fat packs a punch.
Really, really, really does. It's something a lot of our customers always say is like, oh, you can taste the grass. So you can taste like the minerality of like whatever is going through the soil is getting into the animal. Like it's really there. I'm getting excited. Now we get into the stuff that we don't really ever get to try.
Let alone back to back.
That's
side
the
to
big thing,
side.
is, right?
This is my guy.
That's an ambitious piece.
Yeah.
He's an ambitious guy.
Okay, I'm going with fins.
Oh my God, there's so much more, just like a depth of flavor.
And nice chew too.
Mm-hmm. So nice and tender. I know it's obvious, but beefy. There's just more beef flavor. That is so freaking good.
It was my pick, remember?
That's the kind of steak I feel like when you go to a steakhouse, like when you get like the 120-day like dry aged steak, like you're looking for that, but that's not dry aged at all. Right. That's just.
This is just what beef should be. Yeah.
God, that is phenomenal. All right.
Let's do it, Ben.
I'm so excited for this. I've never had anything this old before. It feels the same cutting. Like this does not feel tough at all.
Wow.
It's pretty intensive.
Yeah.
And pretty damn tender.
Mm-hmm. Great texture. The fat is fantastic. When you hear people describe like big red wine, that's exactly what we're tasting here. There's a slight sweetness, but it's mostly like earth,
Like pow.
Yeah.
That is something very, very special. When you talk about dry aging steaks, you can like a 30-day or 60 or 90-day dry aged steak, but this is completely different.
But it might not be for everybody.
Right, you think?
Yeah, I think
Really?
so. Yeah. Some people don't like the bold flavor.
Kinderhook Farm, no wimps.
Yeah.
The standard is fantastic. Can't get it wrong, but this is so unlike any other steak that you can buy.
This thing is taken up like camp. It's the mayor of Ben's Tongueville.
Man.
These animals are processed the same way as our younger animals, the same way as all beef is, inspected by the USDA. These are cut and eaten anyway. It's just they're not sold to the right channels and sold to the right people. It's out there, it's just if we can figure out how to educate people to ask for it.
These two are super special, and I feel like they belong in a menu, like in the middle, in their own box, with a higher price tag, just because it's special. It has a story. The flavor and the texture really stand up to it. I can't remember the last time I had anything like this, and it really pays off. It's actually better.
And no one's taking advantage of it, and someone really should, because this is really exceptional.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yep.
This is
My pleasure.
the best way to spend an afternoon.
It is the best.
We are here at Michelin-starred Gramercy Tavern. We are visiting our old friend Paul Wetzel. Dude is super talented and is responsible for the butchery program, whole animal usage, and charcuterie.
The cool thing about Paul is like being in meat for over a decade like we have been, everybody has like their guy, like this guy's doing this thing, this guy's doing this thing, but whenever Paul's name comes up, everyone's just like, oh yeah, no, Paul's like the master.
He's good.
He's really, really good. So let's go check it out.
What are we doing today?
So today we are going to produce the Gramercy Tavern beef and pork kielbasa.
Cool.
With cheese. It is probably the first value-added product that we started making here when we decided we wanted to have a charcuterie program, and it was sort of instrumental in allowing us to get in whole sides of beef.
So you mentioned a value-added product. What does that mean?
So a value-added product is basically when you take something and you process it in a way that makes it more valuable to your restaurant or to whatever business. So taking milk and turning it into cheese, or taking ground beef, adding some spices to it, casing it, smoking it, and making it something probably a little bit more delicious than it was before, and also something that people will, love and pay a little bit more for too.
You are a fine dining restaurant. You said that you had to really grow into a whole animal program. Like a whole animal program is not easy to execute. That process is something that all of the chefs are talking, and it's just not like you're like, I'm the butcher, I want this pig. Like, you have to figure that out with everyone.
I do most of the scheduling of the whole animals, but in a lot of circumstances, we have to do that as much as a year in advance so that the farms can actually get those slots at the processing facilities.
Wow.
So, once you've committed to 17 sides of beef, you have to then put your map in place of how you're going to get all of that done, and it happens on a lot of different levels.
Wow.
It takes a lot of work.
Let's make some sausage.
Yeah.
So we're going to begin the grinding process for our cheese kielbasa. We have all of our lean wagyu here, as well as our hard pork fat already cured up, par frozen to about 33 or below degrees, and we're going to begin to grind it. So we're looking to do, it's about a 70-30 ratio of our wagyu to pork fat.
70-30 is pretty much the universal like lean to fat that you want with sausage
Exactly.
making.
As we pass our first tray through, we're going to start to sprinkle some of our spices and milk powder over it. We try not to season ahead of time along with the curing process because we really don't want to dilute that protein extraction. Things like the oils and mustard powder might kind of thin or break that consistency of that protein that you're looking to get. And we'll be adding the ice in as well to kind of help add a vehicle for that protein that's extracted, as well as kind of thin out the strong bind and texture that all of that protein will give it. If we did it without ice, it would emulsify fine, but it would be like the tightest sausage ever.
Yeah. I mean, I guess while we're doing this, like, what's your sign?
I'm a Scorpio, my good man.
Yeah?
Yeah. How about yourself?
Aquarius.
I have no idea if that's a match.
I don't know what any of it means. For Scorpio, can we read you your horoscope for today?
Let's do it.
Okay. Feel free to enlist your own creativity today to solve any problem that may come your way, Scorpio. Exercise more of your sensitive nature.
We're here for you,
I think
man.
that's something that we can all be doing a little bit.
So now you can see the particles here are obviously large and defined, and the particles here much smaller. You've already started to create what almost looks like pate or almost puree, if you will.
I mean, it already looks almost like completely bound. It looks like just a very minimal amount of handling and you already have a usable product.
It's real, just following the steps, like making sure you selected nice dark muscle, making sure you cured it for the appropriate amount of time, making sure it's cold, making sure your grinder's set up properly.
I think this is true of how we learned, and I imagine you as well. It's like making sausage, learning to make sausage, pretty easy. Getting to the point where like you guys are at is years of like intense like just practice and reading and watching tons of videos and just experience.
Our farce just came through. We're about to start finishing the emulsification process and adding our cheese.
So this is breeding raclette. This is from a farm in Vermont. We've actually tested through a couple different types of cheese. We definitely wanted something relatively local. We kind of par froze it a little bit so it'll hold its shape. Not that you're gonna see a perfect dice in the finished product, but part of this is keeping it nice and cold so it's safe. Also part of it is keeping it nice and cold so it's kind of structurally sound until you've gotten it to the point where you don't have to handle it anymore.
Right, so you're finishing the emulsification process, but how much do you really need to mix it once you've ground it twice?
A good bit, especially gonna be in the smoker almost all day. So you really want to be confident about the structure and how tight it will be. You don't want any kind of pockets that might be different than the rest of the sausage. You know, you want everything consistent, tightly bound.
And you can see it looks a lot like dough, right? It's like you're kneading dough to make like pasta or bread or something else. Like you can tell that it's got a lot of protein to it because it can basically stand up on its own. If you like, you know, make a mark in it, it's gonna hold. The way I was first taught to do it is if you put some against the palm of your hand and it sticks to your hand, then it's probably in a pretty good spot. So the casing that we've chosen for this is a 170 millimeter collagen casing. They take cowhide and boil it down until you end up with a lot of gelatin, and then it's extruded out so you get a nice, very durable and very symmetrical casing.
Hold this thing down for you.
Yeah,
All right.
there we go.
Gotcha,
Team
boss.
effort. Thank you, sir.
So, Paul.
Looks like we did our job, and we made a really
I think
tightly
it's
bound sausage.
This is big.
Yeah, this is
10 pounds.
this is the largest, I think, format casing that we can get.
So right now you're making holes for the air pockets, correct?
Yeah, just any large air pockets that we think might be a problem. You also don't want to poke too many holes in this because then you'll lose all your cheese.
Yeah. That's really beautiful looking.
So with a sausage about this size, it's going to smoke for about 8 to 9 hours total. Typically when we're doing sausages, we try to smoke them by themselves because obviously if you have a lot of moisture in there, they're not going to grab the right amount of smoke. With something like this, it almost doesn't matter. It's kind of like smoking a pork shoulder. It'll get smoky.
So what you want to end up with is football color.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this guy probably needs to rest a little bit before we slice into it. We don't want the cheese just running out of it. Kind of want to get that.
As much as I want to see that.
Yeah, we want it to run out, but we don't want it to totally vanish.
Hopefully if we constructed this guy the right way, as we slice into it, you're going to see some nice melty cheese. Hopefully not a bunch of rendered fat from a broken emulsion.
Bingo bango.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And that is the large format wagyu kielbasa. There you go, guys.
I mean, you're going to eat this too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh my God. It's pretty good. Yeah, pretty good breakfast.
Oh my God. That's absolutely incredible. Really, really well bound.
Holy is that good?
Yeah, I just want to.
Want a hug?
I feel like it's definitely the much classier version of pretty much what we make. Whenever we put cheese in it, we're also like, we're probably gonna drink 6 beers while we eat this. So like, how do we want to like just throw the kitchen sink at it? But this is just like nice. Like everything there you can taste.
Not only is it super impressive as a large format sausage, all of the spices are well balanced. The smoke is like there, but not overwhelming.
So this is where 10 years as a charcuterie master gets you?
Yeah, large
perfect.
format cheese kielbasa.
Yeah.
This is the end of the road.
This is how you make the big bucks. Yeah. So when we started and we came here, we talked about your whole animal program, the need for like value-added products. And this is the amazing product you're making with what would otherwise be like scrap. You're now turning into this like absolutely incredible dish. That really speaks a lot to like what the mission of this place really is.
Yep.
I'd say so.
It's really amazing.
I feel like I just put all the words in your mouth rather than letting you
Thank
actually
you.
say it for
Well,
yourself.
that was awesome.
Any of you guys ever tried raw blood before? Blood! You don't see it on many restaurant menus, but not only is it important to use the whole animal, blood can also taste really, really good.
It can, but you can also ask why the is this actually in my food? So our friend Hugh from the Steakhouse, M. Wells, is going to teach us everything about blood.
Where I'm from, in Quebec, growing up, I would eat blood sausage for breakfast, but it was terrible. I remember growing up, like the blood was like too cooked, crumbly. It was not something very enjoyable. You know, I found out that it's possible to have it good and creamy. I've been fascinated by that, and it's also a great way to thicken sauces. If you think about that, you could use blood just as you would use egg yolks.
If it's not in a sausage, I don't know how to cook with blood, but just giving the kind of tip of treat it like an egg yolk makes it a lot more accessible, just like kind of automatically. I guess is how you approach it. This has cultural and a history,
Right?
It's not like you're just like, you know, making buttermilk pancakes with blood in them just because you can or anything like that. This was created for a reason, and it was like you were saying, like you have the whole animal. It's the first thing you get to have because it's the freshest and it doesn't last that long.
And also you had to because like the blood doesn't last forever and stuff. It would go. They had to. You know, this
use it right away, yeah.
Most importantly, we're gonna drink, okay? Because it's also my day off. And cheers, I'm very happy.
Cheers.
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 Thank you.
We're gonna get the rabbit cooking. This time being, we're gonna use pork blood, which is like perhaps the creamiest you can get. Okay. You know, when you go with like cow blood or even goat. Goat is very delicious as well, but like, it's drier. Ready?
Oh.
Nice.
And the sauce
perfect.
The sauce is pretty good already. We're just gonna make a little mix of blood, a little bit of cream. I said cognac, but we'll go with Armagnac.
So it's just a blood hollandaise.
Hollandaise, it's more like a hot mayonnaise.
Okay.
That would be more. I mean, it's closer to crème anglaise for me.
Okay.
You know. Now we're gonna do the blood sausage. We'll do the Korean version of it. The French version I'm doing and stuff. There's so many steps. I would have spent the night. We figured it out, my former sous chef and I, because like he's Korean. We came up with a version that's quite good. But for that, if you guys want to help me, I have lard here, like julienne it and dice it. I like making you work.
So now you get to just drink wine?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Oh, this is perfect. Just go like this. I mean, seriously, it's all gonna be mixed in the blood.
Chef says it's perfect, Brent.
It's perfect.
It's being nice. Being nice. He's a gentleman, Ben. Where did you get this blood?
You know, let me see on the label. We work with De Braga. It's from a slaughterhouse. I mean, it's a little bit of a mystery. I trust them, and because like I've been supplied with this blood for a long time now, I know that it's good blood.
A lot of customers ask for blood. Depending where they're from, they're often horrified that we can't get these parts of the animal.
Blood's one of those few things that you can't find where it's from. And if you ask somebody like, no, I need to know where it's from, they would just be like, why the f do you care? You always have to kind of like fight that up about it. Like, no, it matters.
It does
matters to me, it matters to my customers when they ask. And I always have to have an answer for my customers. You can never say to your customer, I don't know.
Yeah, no, totally. Just like I did just now.
So what do we
these
have
are
there?
Korean chili flakes, sesame oil, the fermented bean paste, the glass noodle,
Garlic, ginger, scallions, fat.
and then we're gonna need blood at some point.
Eventually, yeah.
And then, I mean, we're gonna encase the whole thing. So, I mean, I don't know, did you guys wanna work on that?
I can
mean,
do that.
we've been,
Do you want me to do this?
yeah. And you know what? We don't wanna go too long.
The stinkiest job
Yeah,
in the
stinkiest
kitchen?
job.
Brent, please don't embarrass me and f with the casings.
Maybe I will.
This is like the one part of this process you and I are supposed to actually know how to do this.
So I feel like we would be remiss to not mention the sound of the babbling brook next to us.
You know, even getting it fresh in the morning, they wouldn't be enough. It needs to be alive a few minutes before. We just knock him dead, got them without trying to rub the skin. We rinse it a little bit inside and then dip it in white vinegar. It turns electric blue.
Hey, hey Ben. Hey Ben.
Hey!
We're gonna put the blood in.
So really, I mean, this is 90%, maybe even more blood.
We have the blood sausage that's also ready. We'll do pears for the
Little pears.
maple syrup.
So some aromatics, a little bit of fennel, a little bit of Szechuan peppercorn, a little bit of cinnamon.
Now we're gonna make the sanguette. Sanguette is a little crepe, traditionally made out of chicken blood or goat blood. And I mean, it's a pancake made with blood.
I have a tattoo of pancakes on me, so I am very into this. My dog, pancakes.
So we're talking about the blood a little, not as fatty, generally. I use chicken blood over goat blood. They kill chicken every day. So collecting the blood, it's easy as opposed to, but that's mostly the reason why. But I would have loved to be able to get goat blood. I think like most people could never find raw chicken blood. I happen to have like a friend that has a halal slaughterhouse. This is it. So you have a part that's coagulate.
Yeah.
You can coagulated, and you have a part that like it's almost like water, you know. So like it separates like this. I'm gonna blend it again, this so we can work the garnish better and stuff, and we can pour it more evenly. I'm just gonna put a little vinegar.
Okay. Red wine vinegar, right?
Red wine vinegar.
And the vinegar is what uncoagulates it, right?
Yeah.
That color is amazing. Oh, can we try that a little bit?
Yeah, and so you'll see it's not the same.
That tastes like blood.
Yeah. Yep. So we just pour it over, right? And pop!
We're gonna eat all of this now. You got the biggest pieces of sausage for people.
You gotta
Do
commit. Oh my God.
I mean, I have to say, this is like, it might be my favorite today.
Yeah, this is exactly the opposite of what you were saying you grew up with when you were eating blood sausage, where it was just
Oh,
like
no,
crumbly
totally.
and overcooked.
Yeah. No, I can tell you that like all the blood around, like it's cooked perfectly and it's creamy and stuff.
That chili paste comes through. It's well seasoned, little spicy.
I mean, you can feel the blood, right? It almost like on the verge of being astringent or something. It's like, it's there. It's like coating your mouth.
I think it's the pears and that bean curd coming together. You want something to start brunch with? There you go.
I mean, do we even need?
Yes, I think we can just dig in it.
Yeah, let's just get in there.
In this one, you don't even really taste the blood. It's more of a texture thing. Brings it together like a pudding.
You've kind of had elements in juxtaposition with the blood sausage. This is like a fastball right down the middle. Everything is like working in partnership and amping every other element up together. They all just complement each other.
The rabbit braised perfectly, beautiful, tender, but the sauce is what makes it, and that it coats absolutely everything perfectly. Once again, the blood just kind of brings everything together.
The blood is the thing.
Form and
The blood
function.
is the thing. I think the chicken blood pancake is something that might be the most accessible among like these three dishes.
I am shocked.
Yeah, it's
But-
really mild.
The chicken blood is actually really light. It has a different mouthfeel than the pork.
That thing we were talking about earlier about how, with the pork, it kind of like lingers. You can feel it texturally. This one is there and then it's gone. You never hear like chicken blood pancake and you're like, that's definitely gonna be the dish for me. But that is outrageously good. We came here with the question, how do we use blood?
Yeah.
Like, is it worth using? How to use it the best way? I think you just gave us like 3 shining examples of how to use blood. That is not just like a part of the dish or an element of the dish, it's what makes the dish. These are all fantastic. Thank you so much for having us.
And now that we've been working with bloods like that, I would say thank you, brothers.
We actually were roommates when we first opened the business. I don't think either of us would recommend that you start a business with the person you're living with because there's no escaping each other.
It's really terrible.
Being a whole animal butcher shop, we end up with a lot of bones. About 40 to 45% of every animal is bone.
People buy chicken bones, people buy beef bones, but they don't really buy pork bones, which sucks because that means we gotta throw them away. And we wanna be a zero waste as humanly possible. So the chef from one of our favorite ramen places, Suzume in Williamsburg, came in, said, "What are you doing with your bones? I wanna buy them all." So we're finally going to go check out the process, see what he does.
Let's go to Suzume. So Josh, we're here with you, we're here with Nelson. You guys run this place.
We're a whole animal butcher shop. So we have a ton of pork bones every week. Makes perfect sense to partner with somebody that makes ramen to make really fantastic ramen.
By you guys holding your pork bones with that dry aged beef, you're able to get like a lot of that funk and kind of like blue cheesiness that you would get out of dry aged beef, but with pork.
It's kind of interesting. I've never heard anybody talk about actually wanting some like dry aged funk, like that kind of bacteria rich environment to actually like become a part of the final product you're serving. Especially at a ramen shop, it's usually very clean bones, but you're actually looking for a more complex flavor profile.
Yeah, so even like in normal stock making, you know, you'd usually blanch bones or roast them off or whatever to kind of draw out some of those impurities, but like I want all that slime. Slime might not be the most appealing word, but like that slime that forms from that blue cheesiness and it gets stuck in the fat, I want all that.
Looking at the raw products, it's kind of crazy. Like you have the knuckle of the femur with a little bit of meat still attached to it. You then have like marrow that you're also gonna marry like into this broth.
I mean, you even have a tail similar to the foot, has more bones, has more collagen. You really are getting the whole pig.
Yeah, totally.
Just through the bone.
What better application is there? You know?
Yeah, there really isn't one. Yeah.
This is the yao broth that's like cooled down. This is one that we made yesterday. You can see kind of like how gelatinous it is. And a lot of that's coming from the pig.
Pure collagen.
Yeah, so you take water and this and create that.
Right.
Can we eat some of that?
Absolutely.
I don't think I've ever had anything quite like this before.
Katsu broth? No,
Yeah.
certainly have
Cold pork jelly.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Wow.
That really has like an amazing texture. It just like melts right away.
You know when you make a turkey sandwich the day after Thanksgiving and there's like,
There's all the-
and there's,
yeah,
and there's
there's
like
all the
leftover gravy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna throw in the pork bones and the pig's feet first. We're gonna get those going.
So you're not searing them, which a lot of stocks call for.
Our ramen broth is white. We're not roasting the bones. I'm not gonna blanch either, but I want all that funk that we get from your dry aging room in the pot. 4 trotters split in half, so we're literally getting that full pig effect. All we gotta do is top this off with water and get this going. You don't want excess water, you just want just enough to cover. So we want it to be as concentrated as possible. So at this point, we're just gonna blast the heat. The aromatics kit is just gonna be these onions, which we're gonna brulee, ginger, carrots, bay leaf, coriander, and black pepper. There's nothing crazy here, and there's nothing that's gonna overpower the pork. So as these like bubbles start to come to the surface, you kind of see some of the protein starting to come up as well.
Okay.
Some of that's blood, and some of that's just like bone muck. For the next like 30, 45 minutes, someone's basically sitting here skimming this the entire time.
Sounds super fun.
I'll deal with this job.
Over here we got one that's been going for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's already kind of been skimmed of a lot of the impurities. This is gonna roll for like 6-7 hours. We're gonna throw in the dry aromatics and the herbs. The other aromatics have already gone in. We're good on adding these carrots, the onions, and this bacon for the last hour. We're nearing the end where we're gonna drop and cool the stock.
Guys, can I stop now?
No.
There's so much muck, Josh.
This goes for about 8 hours in total.
So you got a deck of cards or something?
Yeah, well, I was gonna make some lamb stuff for you in the meantime.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
Hold you over.
So this is awesome. I've never had a lamb neck bowl before. The neck is another perfect cut to braise that people really don't know what to do with.
Those muscles that get used the most are the ones that are gonna have a lot of flavor. You rarely see it in a butcher shop, much less like, I don't think I ever see it on a menu anywhere, ever.
And it's got all that great collagen like we get out of the pig's feet. We'll just finish this lovage yogurt.
What's up with yogurt going on a bow? It's not something I think I've seen before.
So the yogurt obviously works well with lamb. The lovage kind of is in place of like the herbal herbaceousness that you would want with like something heavy and gamey like lamb. And then the butternut just kind of adds sweetness. I don't think about a bao as a bao. It's more of a vehicle for whatever we want to do.
The most fun part of this is to look at everybody on the crew and just like be like, oh my God, it's the best thing I've ever had in my entire life.
Oh my God, that's good.
God damn. Obviously with the neck and that dense muscle, it's not gamey. It's just like really, really meaty, like a really, really great, like clear lamb flavor.
What's crazy though is how for a lamb neck that's brushed with beef fat, how light it is. I feel like I could eat 10 more of these.
So where are you from originally?
I'm from Florida.
Yeah? What
Yeah.
part of Florida?
Tampa.
So, okay, so I feel like obvious questions. How does a white kid from Florida end up being the chef making all the ramen?
I ask myself that question every day.
Is it just something you fell in love with, like the dish itself?
So the first job I ever had was at a Roy's Hawaiian Fusion. So it was like pan Asian kind of stuff, and I was doing sushi there.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the lineage that brought me here, being that this place is kind of like Hawaiian mall food is the theme, and then we have a sushi bar. So I was kind of uniquely qualified for that. Other than that, this place just offers a lot of freedom. Like, as Hawaiian as it is, as much of a ramen place and a sushi place as it is, we're able to do all kinds of shit.
Okay,
So
that
it's
makes
like-
sense because like the first time I came here with my wife and we sat down at the bar and we were like, great, we're gonna get some ramen, and then we were like, fish tacos are on the menu? Like, okay, yes, we're getting fish tacos. This is gonna be fantastic.
I'm kind of lucky where like I work for an owner that actually like just wants to make good food. So at the end of the day, like as long as you're making good food, it doesn't really matter. So if I'm doing a duck cassoulet, which we're running this week, like I can just do a duck cassoulet and it doesn't have to really be anything. We're towards the end of the process now. I have some soup ready so we can eat it. So the last thing I'm gonna do before we do that is just puff off some chicharron that we make here to top the soup. Kind of reinforces all the porkiness. Basically this pork skin is just boiled for a long time, and then we scrape the excess fat off of it, and then we dehydrate it overnight. We smoke this pork belly for like 4 hours, then we cook it in a bath at 74 degrees overnight, and then we'll grill it over this charcoal to again like reinforce that smokiness.
So how long about does it take from the time you get an order in for a bowl of ramen to be hitting the window to go out to the customer?
Ideally like a minute and a half.
Minute and a half.
It takes, I mean, it only takes 50 seconds for the noodles to cook, and then everything else is like pre-done pretty much.
So eight hours of prep into a 1 minute pickup. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. This is braised pork shoulder that we braise in like a mother braise, so we continually reuse the same braise. It's bok choy that's just sauteed with some sake. And then we're just gonna throw this pork belly in there, and then these gargantuan chicharron. And there you have it.
Oh my God.
It's a shitload of meat.
That is a lot of meat.
So gorgeous.
That's why you sell a lot more in winter than you do in the summer.
There you go.
Yeah, that looks fantastic. I don't know which part to attack first.
So I kind of like to just shove everything in.
Get it in there?
Yeah, and then you can hear the chicharron starting to like crackle and pop.
Oh my God.
You get like that smokiness from the trotters, and there is like a thickness. Like it's not like coating my mouth with all that gelatin, but you do get that like thickness in the broth.
To me, what makes this different and exceptional is that, you know, typical ramen is kind of more about the accoutrement, the other stuff that you're putting into it. What stands out to me is just how round and full that broth is. I could drink this every single day.
You know, we've had our business for almost 10 years now. It's very rare to find like a new appreciation for something that we're looking at all day, every day. We're looking at just like pig's feet and just like, what the are we gonna do with these things again? And now we're like, I have a much better understanding and also, yeah, a lot more respect for like everything you can get out of that. These things that most people just don't even want to look at, and you're doing something like really, really, really cool with it.
I actually have one more thing before we go. I like to bake pies. There we go. You guys will especially like this pie because your leaf lard is the main factor in the crust.
Yes.
Awesome. There's more meat. Good thing Brent's got such a sweet tooth. He's gonna go buck wild. Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Just like shovel method. That's a legit really good pie, man.
Delicious. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, butcher, I'm a customer.
Hey customer, I'm a butcher. What can I do you for?
What's good for the grill?
How many people are you cooking for?
I don't know, I'm thinking like 15 to 20.
Oh, nice barbecue you're putting together.
Sure am, celebrating
Celebrating what?
my divorce.
That's fantastic.
Here are our favorite moves for throwing the best barbecue, getting the most for your money. Chicken up! It's way cheaper to buy a whole chicken rather than buying pieces of breast or leg. I'm gonna spatchcock a chicken. That means cut the backbone out of it. It's one even piece so that the legs, the thighs, the breasts will all cook evenly. You can put it on the grill.
This is our pork shoulder. Why I love this so much, you can see the eye of what would be the pork chop right here, but then look at all this like beautiful fat, beautiful marbling, and this darker muscle. You're essentially getting a pork chop with more meat on it for anywhere from, I would say, a third, like 25 to 50% less money than you're paying for the pork chop, which is literally right here. People want to always sell you the middles. The middles are the more expensive part whenever you go to a meat store. They want to sell you the pork chop, but the pork shoulder chop has usually been just kind of relegated to like pulled pork. But there is this really, really nice area where you can grill a pork shoulder chop. You're not spending all that money. So it's going to be a few dollars less. It'll be bigger, feeds more people, and no joke, this is my favorite piece to cook of pork. Top cap. It is less tender, but who cares when you're cutting it up really, really, really thin. You can see the graining is kind of like a skirt steak or a bavette. If we're gonna be making tacos, we're just gonna be slicing really, really thin pieces after we cook a whole piece as one. So you can really get away with any kind of cheaper cut. One of our best options here is what we call the old 96er, which is a sirloin surrounded by the other muscle groups around it. So you get a little bit of filet, sirloin, picanha, and tri-tip, but because you're getting everything all at once, we tend to value it a little bit less. So you're actually getting a steak that'll feed 15 for about $15.99, which is on the lower end.
We're gonna face this and cut our old 96er.
And 96er.
We have our top sirloin, we have our picanha, we have our tri-tip, and we have a little bit of filet.
So we have our big centerpiece steak, we have our taco meat, we have our pork shoulder chops, and we have our spatchcock chicken. Now we're gonna season these and we're gonna throw them on the grill. Let's celebrate that divorce. We're here in the backyard of our butcher shop. Here's a disclaimer for you. We're paying New York state tax, and we're paying New York City rent prices.
Thanks,
So,
New York.
Yeah, you're a peach. While yes, this is probably more than you're gonna be paying and wherever else in the world you are, like you can get away with a good amount of food, like easily for 30 people for about $150 to $170.
This is about 20 bucks.
Yeah, about a pound and a half of meat there.
Okay, whole chicken, another 20 bucks.
Yep.
Pork shoulder chops. These were total about 3 pounds, so this is about $30 all in. And 96er, this is what 6 pounds or 96 ounces of meat actually looks like, which means this is just over $100. So all in, we got
$170. But it also looks like we're gonna feed probably closer to
a
30
hell of a lot more than 20 people.
Yeah.
And we got a little bit more in our budget to round it out for, no one wants to say it, but vegetables. And our fixins for our tacos.
All right, let's grill. A really big guy is gonna hit the grill before anything else. It's gonna take the longest. And chicken probably hitting around the same time, you think?
Yeah, chicken's still chicken. It's the only thing that we need to cook all the way through. And most of the time, cooking a whole chicken takes about 45 minutes to an hour. Hit our pork shoulder chops, because these we can cook to medium rare, and then quick flash on the top cap. So we cooked, feeling pretty great about all of it, especially these pork chops.
I think your chicken looks really great.
Hey, thanks, bro.
I think you did a really, really good job on that chicken. Let's start. Just gonna cut this into a few pieces. It's tacos, man. Don't be precious about it. We're just cutting them up thin against the grain.
Let us take a break and make a taco.
May I make you a taco?
Yeah.
A little bit of taco meat goes a long way. So not only are you buying a cheap cut, instead of having a budget like 6 or 8 ounces a person, budget 2 or 3, because everyone's just gonna have a taco. Let's do a pork chop. You don't have to be precious about it at all. You're just cutting it off the bone. You don't have to worry about the grain or going against it. This is just gonna be really, really flavorful.
Now that it's cooked, we can cut it into the individual steaks, cut out the little bit of fat, and then that way everybody knows what they're trying, and they get to try something different. So big sirloin in the center. Can't be mad about that. All right, let's try this picanha.
Ooh, I'm gonna go outside. Holy hell.
That's even better than the tri-tip, I think. It's more tender.
Yeah.
And last but not least, our tenderloin.
What's amazing to me is like that fillet, that size, would cost $60 probably, just for the fillet alone in a restaurant.
Now let's eat a chicken. We need that.
Yeah, I was hoping for a chicken after tacos and 4 cuts of steak.
Got a preference?
I'm gonna go light meat. I'm gonna go breast.
God damn, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good day when you wonder whether you like the grilled chicken, steak, or pork chop better.
Yeah.
Just slow roasted, salt and pepper.
Yeah. Hopefully we got across. You shouldn't be intimidated going to your butcher shop and getting a full spread for you and yours for pretty cheap. Like, this is not gonna feed 20 people. This could feed 25 or 30 people.
Or 40.
And we spent about $170. You could spend even less than this, like getting like just burgers and dogs if you wanted to, but this is a killer spread that's gonna cost probably about $7 or $8 a person. That's pretty cool.
This is pretty much what it's like filming omakase, right? The holiday season is upon us. So everyone asks, hey, Thanksgiving's here. What interesting thing should I do instead of a turkey? This is a turducken. It's a chicken inside of a duck, inside of a turkey. We're gonna try it and see if we can come up with a version of our own. I read the directions this morning. It suggests slicing it lengthwise.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I see what's going on here.
This is all sausage.
Yeah.
This isn't a f***ing turducken.
No, it is a turducken, but I guess this is what a turducken is. I never knew.
Just stuffing sausage and things. Well, we're good at that.
Yeah, we can definitely stuff sausage and things. This is a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be.
I don't know what's what, but in your world of beige meats, they're all here.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that really flavor-wise bounced around a lot.
While simultaneously going nowhere.
I think it was like all the dry spices, which not that great. Then you get like the poultry, great.
I wouldn't say great, no. Oh man. If this is our turducken, how do you want to do it better?
I just assumed it would be the chicken up against duck meat up against turkey meat.
Right.
But then yeah, that wouldn't really hold together at all. You need something in there to kind of bind it all together. We might have to make a sausage during this. This might get a little bit more complicated.
Damn it. Thought we were getting out of work early today.
Yeah. All right, I think we need some other opinions here.
Let's get a team together, talk about what we can do.
See if we can get some staff, maybe a customer
Outside
or two.
opinion.
Yeah, okay.
So we got our panel, Selassie, Lorenzo, Michael. We're gonna do our own version. So what are your thoughts? We want you guys to try this too.
We have 6 tiny birds, but we were thinking of either putting pork andouille in there, or we would have to make our own chicken sausage from scratch really quick as a stuffing between each layer.
From a texture point of view, I feel like pork andouille would like go better with that. Cause like the turkey and this, are you doing turkey? Because it feels like
no turkey. We're taking the turkey out of it.
The biggest bird we got is a duck.
Is a duck?
Oh, with the duck is different story. We can put some intestine of the bird, you know, like liver, heart, everything put together. Put some spice.
I think we're actually getting somewhere now. This actually sounds pretty good.
I actually like the idea of using offal. I'm a big advocate of using offal in general.
So we're putting the inside of the bird back inside of the bird.
Back inside. You see?
Lorenzo, thank you. Michael, thank
Yeah,
you.
appreciate it.
Selassie, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Let's make a cool offal, like a poultry offal liver like sausage on the fly and see how it turns out.
All get to deboning. We got a quail, we got a squab. We have a pheasant, a Cornish hen, a guinea hen, and a big f***ing duck.
I might have to do some quick research on gizzards going into a sausage. I've never done that before. I've never thought about it before. The livers we'll definitely use, and the hearts we will definitely use. And honestly, like Lorenzo was like pretty dead on. I think we should use like a decent amount of onion, a decent amount of garlic, and then I think we're just gonna go through whatever fresh herbs we have. I kind of think we should just do all poultry sausage. You want to put a layer of andouille in there though?
I think so. I think it's gonna taste good.
It is weird how I can go from really, really hating this project and like having to eat a turducken to being just like now I'm really excited to make a gizzard sausage.
This is the guinea hen. You know when you go to a farm and there's those spotted things running around chasing one another, making like really ridiculous sounds? That's a guinea hen.
All right, I have my recipe. Start putting this together. Salt, black pepper, cayenne, mustard.
I'm already so tired of doing this.
So we'll take the garlic and the onion. We'll grind that through with the sausage just to get it like really, really well mixed in. So that's the hearts, gizzards, and livers of all 5 birds.
We're on to number 3, the squab. Let me tell you, it's just as fun to debone as the other 2 were. A game bird is really anything you would hunt. So unless you hunt chicken, which is kind of an unfair hunt.
Most huntings being on a level playing field. Squab, you have chosen the spear, so shall I. We shall see who now will win. It's actually nice. You can see the bits of offal still have some definition. They all mix in nice. And I added another ingredient called sodium tripolyphosphate, which is essentially like a binder, same as salt, but when it's mixed with salt, they both become super binders together. So hopefully that'll make it really, really stick together well.
Wow, this is so much more of a pain in the ass than I imagined it would be. Duck, let's start here. I'm thinking we might have to skip the guinea hen because I'd rather have the pheasant. I love that this is the smaller, more modest version of a turducken.
I think we fell into the trap of the turducken though, where it's like, it's already like this ridiculous experiment, like kind of like, the turducken is a Frankenstein. We scoffed at it and then we were like, but let's add more animals. You know, I'm not a very religious person, but this might be one that I get stopped at the gates for. It's like, you want stuffed birds inside birds.
They were not meant for
this. That is not why birds were there. Do you want to just put one of the legs on each side? And I think we're done.
All right, so now we have a quail, squab, pheasant inside of a duck. You want to sew this sucker up? My mother's a home ec teacher, so I'm gonna use the old double knot.
I have to say, I did not know you could do this. This is an impressive sewing job. Salt this mammer jammer.
I have absolutely no idea how long this is gonna take. Set the oven for 300.
Okay, that
so
seems reasonable.
Could slowly cook through all of these birds.
Set a timer for, what do you want to say, 60 minutes and we'll check it?
Yep.
Whoa! They remade Cliffhanger and there's a trailer out!
And about 2.5 hours later, here we are. This is a smell of smells. Nauseatingly delicious, or maybe just slightly nauseating.
I can't tell anymore.
Very rich. Here we go. Well, it slices like a meatball.
Back the f*** up! Wow.
And the smell doesn't get any less intense by slicing into it. I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of it.
Now that we've made it, it makes sense that all the force meat and the turducken was in the middle, because that's where most of your layering is happening. So that totally makes sense. I mean, it smells. You get like a little bit of organ meat. You get a little bit of definitely some onion, which went into the andouille.
I'm trying to figure out what's what. Duck, guinea hen.
I think our squab, the breast is buried under the force meat.
Uh-huh.
I think this down here is gonna be our quail, because we put the 2 legs down at the bottom. Went in Rome, Pennsylvania.
The duck is very good.
It's not bad. The andouille goes a long way, and it is actually kind of like, you get a little bit of that irony flavor from the organs, which is crazy because we used 5 pounds of sausage. Half a pound was organ meat, but it just like comes through just a little bit. It's nice.
God damn it.
I still hate it.
But it's really good.
It's not really good. It's acceptable.
I'm still gonna roast a turkey because I don't have 8 hours to burn before Thanksgiving. But if I had nothing to do, I just might actually make this stupid thing.
No, really?
Yeah.
See what I have to live with here. I don't think this has helped me to understand why turducken exists any better.
On its own, turkey, duck, chicken, all great.
Love them.
They don't need to be together.
No.
The sum is definitely not greater than its parts, so take your time, make each of them excellent in their own right.
We did this so you don't have to. And let's remind you again, we will never make this for you.
Unless there's like a country home in it for us.
We did another dumb thing.
That's how you waste a day.
But we did it pretty well. Prime time.
Our burger's very, very good at our restaurant, but it's not perfect.
So we're gonna head down to the restaurant, we're gonna cook a bunch of burgers, make ourselves sick, and see if we come up with what for us is the ideal meathook burger.
They have beer too.
Also, they have a lot of beer, so we're gonna drink some of those. I have a lot of thoughts about the dry aged burger. Number one, it's f***ing amazing. It's my favorite burger. Full stop right now.
We have the best possible product already.
Right.
Like, do as little to it as possible.
Don't f it up.
Yeah, don't f it up. That's it. That's my job. Don't f
What do we want to come away with here? What's our goal for the day? Classic burger and keep it like no sauce, just a burger with a few vegetables on the side, or do we want to try and come up with a sauce for this thing?
I want sauce and I want pickle. Those are the things that I think that vinegar balance is something that I always want on my burger.
For me, it's several things. Like, I want to add more cheese. We're dealing with a dry aged burger, so let's add moisture through dairy and see what other things we can do.
I feel like we should be serving one burger that comes dressed completely as is like our ideal of perfection. What we are going to start with is what makes a dry aged burger a dry aged burger. This is a strip loin beef that we got today. To make it actually dry aged, we want to hold on to it for at least, I'd say, 28 to 45 days.
28 days is where you start to really see a difference both in flavor and texture. The reason you want a dry aged steak, specifically when you come to a place that's grass-fed, grass-finished, those animals are out on pasture. They're building muscle, they're like running around. This means that muscle is more dense. So what we want to do after that animal goes through the slaughter process is allow for those muscle fibers that are really tightly wound to become more loosely wound, which makes A, the steak more tender, and B, helps some of that water that's in the muscle really drain out. So you not only get a more tender steak, but you get a more beefy flavored steak. Now, on this side you have a beautiful New York strip. But then you're left with this right here. This is an uneven cut, as you can see, so you can't really put it in a case. We take all this and we grind it and we turn it into a burger. The blend itself, like what we start with are like bare bones, like what we grind here at the shop, Brent and I both really love. Like I think our customers love as well. It's about the most like kind of like funky dry-aged steak I think you can find around because A, it's grass-fed, which makes it a lot different from most other burgers. Then it's got this dry age, and we're grinding all of this stuff. Cool with going a little bit heavier on fat for dry age because
means more flavor.
The dry aged burger, the marbling is totally different. You see, it's a different patty. We typically just do it dry. I don't like to give too much flavor to the buns. I don't really want anything to mess with the flavor of the burger. So like grilled and brioche buns, those are all cool and everything, but the bland aspect is important when you're having something super flavorful. So I try not to mess with that too much. Because of the lower moisture content, generally have to cook it faster. There's less of a window for success. You have less time. Where pickup time on our regular burger is like 6-7 minutes. Pickup time on a dry age is anywhere from like a minute for a rare to like a minute and a half for medium rare.
So you just want to get all of our toppings ready.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Sauce and sauce and sauce and sauce.
Basically, I just have some andouille sausage, some Calabrian sausage, and I'm gonna mix it up with butter, maybe a little flour, see how it comes out. I don't think it's gonna stay emulsified, but it's definitely gonna be really spicy. So, see how it goes.
You're going straight squeeze bottle. You know it's going on something?
Oh, it's going on everything. It's only about 2 ounces, so.
You taste it?
No. Oh, yeah, that's gross. Yeah, I think I knew before I said it that it was a really bad idea.
Now we know.
Had to try it.
Now we know.
What are you going for?
The spiciest classic special sauce out there. Pickles, mayo, mustard, onion. That's it.
What did you add to got it spicy?
There's just way more Dijon, the pickled red onion.
I got ketchup, fish sauce, roasted onions. Did I already say fish sauce?
Yep.
I added more.
There's more.
I added more, and a little bit of Worcestershire.
And I just went super classic and just made a onion sauce, soubise, kind of thick, so it's spreadable, out of brown butter and shallots.
And we have our dear friend Anna, who runs our brewery here at Threes. Please be as biased or unbiased as you want.
So starting from left to right, we'll start with that one. What do you think?
This one was the one that I was the least excited by.
Okay. Okay.
This would be, you know, my least favorite.
Okay. Least favorite. Heard. Least favorite.
Tastes like the ocean, but I don't really want the ocean on my burger unless it's an ocean burger.
All of the crazy umami is almost completely lost. Classic special sauce, only with a shitload of Dijon in it, so it's extra spicy. I thought it was fine. I thought it was totally fine. I liked that I made it stronger than it needed to be. That Dijon held up to the dry age, but nothing else really did.
Love spicy, love Dijon.
I honestly thought it was the best one. That's a brown butter onion soubise.
This was my favorite. This on its own is very, very mild, but I think it's the only thing that actually elevated the flavor of the actual beef.
I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'd say one thing that's abundantly clear is that this is not easy. And just because you have a strong sauce doesn't mean it's actually gonna work well with the protein, especially on a burger. Way different than I thought it was gonna work out. Let's talk cheese.
Thanks, guys.
Anna, thank you for joining us for this round.
I wish I could stay for the rest.
It was lovely to hear you trash my sauces.
Great choices. Great palate. Great palate.
The question really is, how much cheese is too much cheese?
So for the cheese, we went double raclette, so almost an ounce of raclette folded over both halves, which is a lot of really funky cheese. This side is the double American dry aged. Well, actually, so we doubled up on both patties, so it's a quadruple American dry aged.
All right, cool.
Get in there. That was pretty fucking good.
That is very, very good.
That was really good. The cheese is sweet from the fat. It was weird. It was good.
I really do just love that soubise on that so much.
Yeah, I'm some taste too.
Whew. I like that a lot. Could use like just a hair more salt. but I like the cheese with that.
Yeah, I think, well, when you add more fat, you gotta salt it more.
That's the thing. I think it needs like some sort of acid to it, whether it be, you know, pickled red onions or some regular dill pickles, like something pretty acidic, because it is, like you said, an ounce of raclette cheese on 2 burger patties that are 35% fat and 65% lean. That's a lot of fat happening right there.
That's significantly better.
Yeah.
I really like the raclette. I think it really makes a difference from the original dry age that we had. But obviously it's also much lighter than 4 slices of American cheese.
This brings out the actual flavor of the meat way more. And like, yes, it's ridiculously indulgent, but it's cleaner.
I don't really need the dill pickles. The pickled red onion with like a little bit more bite and sweetness to it is fantastic with that burger.
So I would say we have a winner for our dry age with the raclette, sous vise, and pickles. I think that's the perfect way to have it. I don't know how the burger would get much better than that.
This is an improvement upon the way we have been serving it, and just that we're kind of forcing people to put that acid on there, and that's gonna break up the fat a little bit and make it taste even better.
This was really awesome. Thank you for taking the time for us to actually workshop this, sit around and talk about it. It's fantastic.
Cool. Burgers.
Still good.
Still good?
Yeah, who knew?
We are here at Metta in Brooklyn, where the chef grew up in Argentina, cooking everything over fire. And now he's doing that in his own restaurant, cooking the whole menu over an open flame. That's how he does short ribs too. Everyone braises short ribs, but we're here to find out if you can cook them a better way.
Yeah.
Negro, so good to see you.
Welcome, guys. We're gonna learn how to cook short ribs. Short ribs is a cut that doesn't have too much use, or when you talk with somebody, it's just one option, braise the short rib.
Yeah.
But in Argentina, it's our basically main cut of meat. When you're talking about asado with friends, first thing you do is just go buy pounds of short rib. So we're going to be playing around with a different style of cooking of short rib, all using open fire. Then we're going to be doing some kind of Argentine style, more traditional short ribs. And then we're going to use kind of Metta style. We have some short ribs then been marinated with a special treatment.
That sounds ominous. The American thought is that for the barbecue, ribeye is the best cut because it has the most fat from the loin, so you can grill it fast, eat it medium rare, and you get to still eat some of that fat. Short ribs, if you braise them, you never really get that grilled flavor. So this is a long grill. It's like very similar, but completely different.
What's the process for building the fire?
Definitely depends of what is your schedule for the day and what proteins you need to cook. Definitely if you hang in big proteins, you're gonna need the fire earlier. You can see here now 2 ways to use the cooking, the fire. One is radiant heat from the coals. The short ribs, there needs to be radiant heat from the flames. This is a kind of classic setup. In South America, you go to any house and you will find one of these in the garden. Or some people will have like a whole room in the house and it's just for the barbecue, you know. Let's cook.
Let's cook. Cool.
We kind of trying to flip the short rib as a kind of like a small dish. So I tried for first time on Friday, this dish. We're gonna try it today again. If you guys like it, we're gonna put it in the menu.
Fantastic.
No pressure.
So
what have you done to these so far?
This one we do like a quick dry age technique that we have over here. In the back area we have coals around but a hole in the middle. So basically you should create like a convection of heat. It's never going to burn, it's just going to get crispy slowly.
I think Americans are starting to get this now. It's like, don't just get it f***ing raging hot.
In Argentina, basically, if you have any fire touching the meat, you are pretty bad cooking.
So the whole thing is kind of just like, relax, man.
Now we're going to go to one of the most popular way to eat short ribs in Argentina. Mayonnaise and chimichurri are in every asado that you do. It's like a medium, well done cut.
So normally you're dipping the bread in the mayo, bread, meat, wine, wine. Holy shit, Negro. This is incredible. It has a little bit of texture, but it's not chewy.
So juicy because there's so much fat.
I don't think I'm ever gonna braise a short rib again. I think it's just what I do from now on.
So these are ready.
And you can hear it crunching.
Yeah.
That's great.
Let's chop some of our dandelion greens. Going to dump it with the dandelion greens. Here we have some scallions, some mint. I don't think somebody from Argentina will be happy about putting mint with short ribs, but who cares?
They'll get over it.
Actually, we're huge in Argentina.
So here we have a dressing that is made with roasted garlic puree, red wine vinegar that was leaved with marjoram stem.
So a lot of this dressing is byproduct. I don't even know how to describe that. Sweet, obviously acidic, not fishy at all. When was the last time you saw Back to the Future?
Long time ago.
There's the scene at the very beginning where he stands in front of the wall of amplifiers.
Yeah.
He plays one guitar note and it blows him into the
everything.
wall. That's kind of what this is reminding me of.
Before onions go bad, we just turn it into a powder.
So this is the onion powder you made?
Yes. That's it, guys. Here is Taylor with us, chef de cuisine at Metta, who's been working since the beginning. This is a crispy short rib salad we're looking to put in the menu. So please, guys, let's try it and see if we can put it in the menu or not.
No pressure there at all. No pressure at all. All right, I can go on the menu.
Despite the amount of acid, garlic, chilies, it is really mellow.
I have a quick question for you. Can something still be a salad when half of the salad is meat?
Yeah, a meat salad.
Meat salad.
Our first run for the first year was short ribs, grilled, traditionally asado style, Argentinian style. And now we're starting to work short ribs into other dishes and started like, all right, well, yeah, you can have a meat salad.
We have the same kind of conversation all the time in the butcher shop about like different steaks. Nothing is gonna be exactly the same. If you want a Denver steak, it's gonna need to be like medium. You don't want it rare. It's not gonna be good rare.
That is a good example because it's something that been happening here with the short ribs. People ordering medium rare or rare short ribs. Like, you cannot.
No, don't do that.
Eat it.
And that's something that people should take away. Like that, different cuts require different methods and different times of cooking. Right. And some cuts are better, well done.
Okay, guys, we're gonna take down this short rib plate and it's been hanging here. It's almost 4 hours. Should be medium.
Medium well.
You ready for it? You still see all the marbling inside?
Yeah.
And because it was cooked slow, just that fat is kept inside.
You get that nice even heat. That fat's not gonna render down as quickly. That's what patience gets you.
Yeah.
Best one yet. Of all of that fat from the slow cooking, but completely dry. It's not masked with anything else.
This is one of those like, hey America, we've been f***ing this cut up for a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
We've got to start doing it like this. Raising it, you kind of lose the integrity of the muscle and how it's structured. You kind of just break it down.
The fat actually renders out rather than staying inside of the meat.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different way of thinking about it.
And it's always nice to know that an example of how just taking your time, like don't worry about you don't want the fire touching it. Like what it's creating around it is what's important.
Yeah. You could serve this on the menu.
Good to know.
You could do that.
We're ready now.
You can do that.
We're gonna be working this beef heart carpaccio.
Whoa.
That's it. So basically you just wanna give a quick sear, smokiness.
So why beef heart?
We don't like to waste in Metta. And as example of short ribs, then it's a cut that nobody uses. So for us it's important to incorporate this kind of off cuts.
Let's eat it.
That's fantastic.
Funky, spicy.
Sauce is so good.
Yeah. Love the iron, just the slightest bit, but it still tastes like a steak.
We don't try to cover that flavor with it. We're just trying to pair it with all this spiciness, so get it to a level. Then it's kind of balanced, so it doesn't come to your mouth straight like that iron taste.
This is amazing, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
This has been completely eye-opening.
Thank you guys for coming to us.
Our friend Chris Kronner from Oakland is coming to visit us. Chris is a big-time chef, has his own restaurant, Kronner Burger, and Henry's in Oakland, California.
Chris makes a really, really amazing burger. We both had it, and we want to take his idea of dry aging at home and apply it to the meats that we get here at the shop. So we're gonna go out to Bensonhurst, buy a fridge off a guy, and then we're gonna age it. Chris is gonna come out here, we're gonna cook it. Have you thought at all about what we're supposed to do with this once the shoot's over?
Nope, I haven't gone that far.
We are in our office. It's new, so don't judge us for not having everything in order yet.
You can be impressed. It's okay.
But it means we have plenty of room for this little guy right here. I'm talking about the fridge.
There's plenty of room for me too.
There is room for you too.
Our buddy Chris says we gotta clean it.
Yep.
So let's sanitize this and then obviously put a bunch of expensive meat in it.
This fridge we got online cost 80 bucks, which we're gonna be dry aging at home. 80 bucks is a pretty good deal to start making like your own burger blends, dry aging your own steaks. The reason we chose the cuts that we have. The short we chose because obvious reasons, we have a lot of fat here. The chuck we're throwing in because it's closer to the neck. You get a lot of muscle density, which means you get a lot of flavor packed into those muscles.
Most burger blends do have chuck in them. Good mix between the chuck, the short rib. So the New York strip we want to do because we also have a lot of New York strips aging at the butcher shop. I think this is going to be a direct comparison. We'll be able to see what a 10-day versus a 30-day really looks like. So we'll have a control for our whole experiment. As our friend Chris has told us, can you do this in your fridge at home? Yeah, but your fridge at home already has a whole bunch of other stuff in it. So if you're gonna do this, you wanna dedicate the fridge to just meat. So that's why, our $80 investment seems pretty worthwhile. Just doing that, we have a little fan, move the air, that should be it. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, Chris. Welcome to our weird empty office.
So beautiful.
You guys ready for this?
Do it. It's an adorable fan.
Isn't it? That is really dry, holy sh**.
I'm pretty stoked about this. What do you think?
That is super clean. There doesn't look to be any exterior mold. I think they look great.
These got really dry.
So here's a question. Why did we do this?
So we had the idea to just figure out like an inexpensive solution that someone could easily do at home that was like totally controllable. We found that like with the freezer element in the mini fridge, there is some humidity. And then with the addition of a little desk fan, like, the most important thing is rapidly circulating air to get that crust quickly, to prevent bacterial infiltration, to control the dehydration process.
We're gonna grab this, take it across the street to the shop, try some steaks and make some burgers.
All right, let's do it.
Since we dry aged at home, we should keep this also home cook friendly and maybe not use our grinder that we have because we're a butcher shop. I mean, hand cutting burger is something you do.
It is.
So do you want to making the mix for the chuck and short rib? Do you think this is enough fat?
Definitely. So we have about 30% fat in our grind. That ratio should work out pretty well.
Brent, you want to debone that and we can start making the burger mix?
Sure. All right, burger guy. Wanna make some burgers?
Sure.
I'm gonna let you do it.
So since we're just gonna eyeball it.
Okay.
We're eyeballing?
Let's eyeball it.
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
How much do we wanna work this or not?
I really just work it until it's combined. Very little. I mean, it's because it's hand chopped, doesn't combine as easily as when it's ground.
Sure.
I mean, you really just want to disperse the fat as evenly as possible.
That looks like a very, very good burger. Like, I love seeing the dry bits. I love seeing all that fat. You may look at that and say, like, that's a lot of fat, but people should remember, like, a lot of that is going to render off, so you want to have a little bit extra so that it stays juicy.
It's also nice in the hand cut version that you still get some of the texture of the fat as well.
Yeah. Well, that is a crust.
I mean, that's another benefit of the dry aging process. With that reduced moisture, it absolutely contributes to the quality of the caramelization that you get.
Wow, that is incredible.
And in the hand cut version, you really get so much amazing texture. Got some really nice exterior caramelization.
That is
holy
beautiful.
You guys hungry?
Yes.
What do you guys think of that texture in the hand-cut version?
That's awesome. I mean, it's super steaky.
Yeah.
I love the texture.
How do you feel about it, coming from a DIY creep fridge?
I think it's so good.
Yeah.
Texture's great, fat ratio's great, caramelization good. I mean, this aged chuck is absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
And do you notice the exterior pieces?
A little bit. Especially the ones that were on the outside are actually like fried, so they're actually like, the dryness now is just like a nice crunch.
Just like, I don't know, those are little flavor bombs.
That's a better burger than I would say you would get in like 90% of restaurants.
Absolutely.
Like right off the rip.
Do it at home.
Yeah. We took 10 days in our fridge to age this. We spent $80 on the internet buying a fridge from a stranger. Other than that, it's a bun, some mayonnaise, some onion, and a little bit of like thyme.
I'd say a lifetime of memories.
It's true. Wow. I'm kind of blown away at how well that worked.
I did not expect to learn this much today. Chris?
Dry aging you can believe in?
Dry aging, we can believe in.
Hey, can we afford like a real thing? And we're in the butcher shop today, and we're gonna talk about the second most tender steak on an animal. Brent, what's the steak?
The flat iron, which comes from the chuck, beef shoulder, which is not the most typically sought after part of the animal. Heavily used muscles are usually not quite as tender, but deep inside there, we have a super tender, super delicious steak.
Turns out the flat iron is also one of the hardest things to actually butcher.
Good thing we haven't practiced in a while.
Yep, here we go.
Let's do it. Big heavy. Getting one hook in the rib, one hook in the shoulder, and here we go.
As you can see here on the chuck, this is where the neck is, so the head would be coming off here. This is actually right at the elbow, so the arm would be coming off there. And then our flat iron is buried right in here. Traditionally in the US, this is pretty much all going to burger grind or to braising or roasting cuts. That's it. It really wasn't until recently we started really breaking these things down to get some good steaks.
We have the ranch steak. We have the one-off of the shoulder tender, which is also a fantastic steak.
Yeah.
We have the whole chuck roll section, which we have Delmonico steaks, chuck steaks. Then you have a whole brisket as well. There's a ton of different things that you can seam out, but really only a handful of steaks.
And it's crazy when you read old books where it's just kind of like, you cut it this way, you cut it like that, and then you braise it. And that's pretty much all that there was to a chuck. None of the steaks Brent mentioned were like ever in books before like the mid-2000s.
In the industrialization of beef, your only tool was a bandsaw. So everything is just going to be cut very quickly and rudimentarily on a big saw because it's fast. We're going to get into it and just start butchering this chuck. So the first thing we're going to take off is just what's called the chain, which is on the inside of the vertebrae here.
One thing about the chuck is that it's often overlooked because this group of muscles is so important to an animal staying upright that it's just kind of assumed that all these muscles are just really tough.
What we do here at the Meat Hook is referred to as seam butchery. You can easily see where a seam is. And all you're doing is pulling that back. The only pressure I'm using is actually with my free hand. I'm not even really cutting, just guiding my knife to get through this separation. So the next section is one of the more difficult cuts of actually removing the entire spine. It's difficult because this is where the chuck roll, chuck roast are underneath. We want to preserve as much muscle as possible. We need to be meticulous about going bone by bone up the vertebrae.
This kind of butchery takes a lot of work and a lot of expertise, and that's why a lot of industrial producers don't really do this with a chuck. It takes a lot of skilled labor, which means a lot of money, to get to these smaller steaks that don't have the market value of, say, a ribeye or a porterhouse. So in 1998, there was actually a study done where two scientists were given $1.5 million to find like a new cut because the price of beef was so depressed they needed to find more cuts to sell in the market. And what they came up with after 3 years of research was the flat iron. It worked. Flat iron started showing up on shelves in your local grocery aisle. It started showing up on the menu at Applebee's. What a trailblazer. It's kind of mind-bending that like you could read books from like the 70s and 80s where they would tell you to buy a big piece of chuck and then seam out this beautiful steak. But it was just kind of unknown to the mass meat market until like the late 90s, early 2000s.
So the next thing we're gonna do is to pull off the whole chuck roll. All the way from the neck through the ribeye steak is the same continuous muscle. So we're just gonna pull that entire thing off right now. Next up, we are just removing the Denver steak.
Seam butchery, baby.
Being super careful right here because you can see that we're starting to come up against the bone. Here's our shoulder blade. Our whole flap comes off, trim that up, turn it into a Denver. That's not for this episode. Second to last thing, we have our whole brisket here. Trim.
Can't all be steaks, y'all. Some of it's gotta be a burger. That part, we're gonna cut out. You don't want that.
Not burger.
That's what a gland looks like.
They're disgusting.
It looks like a really big booger.
Then we're going to take out our clawed heart, which is this whole section here.
This is where we employ the other kind of butchery, where we talk about seam butchery a lot, and it really, really is a useful tool and a way of cutting. This is just like trace the bone to get your muscles.
Last but not least is our flat iron. We just need to separate the actual shoulder blade here.
Good cut, good cut.
We do want to be super careful about everything else here that we are not going to necessarily nick. It's not a huge muscle, so we want to keep it as big and as clean as possible.
Now we have our shoulder blade, and you can see how small this is, and we're gonna see how much smaller it gets. There's still some trim work that needs to happen here. Each animal only has 2 shoulder blades, and that means we only get 4 flat iron steaks per animal. It's really important that we don't mess these up. I'm gonna take off this steak first. So this hook is actually a pretty useful tool to just kind of like scrape along. You're getting all the meat off the bone, and you have a very clean bone that way. You can see as we get closer, it's not getting any easier. And believe it or not, actually the hardest part is still to come. So you have this flat side, but on this side, you have the bone coming up to a point here and going down here. The interesting thing when you get to this point is you would think, because these muscles are just separated by a very thin piece of bone, that they would actually have a similar taste or texture, and they actually have very different flavors in very different textures. Isn't butchering interesting? I'm gonna take off what's called the Scotch tender first. Don't let the name fool you, it ain't tender. This is it. Guys, we've been spending so much time just to get to this piece of meat right here. That's it.
But we made it!
We made it!
We're there!
Cabo! Brent, pretend that you're our meat scientist and you are shown this cut. What do you think? Is it going to be tender? Is it going to be tough?
I don't think you have any inclination that this is actually going to be a good steak by looking at it right now. Here, we have a lot of sinew, and then you can see an enormous piece of sinew straight in the middle. I'd be pretty quick to actually just chop this up and grind it because it does not seem like an easy thing to do.
So when we talk about sinew, we're talking about what is also called silver skin.
Just like gristle itself, it gets stuck in your teeth. It's what protects muscles and does separate them. you can't actually chew through it. You want to get to the muscle itself.
These are the fibers that in your body are helping, like when you do this, it's not just the meat moving, there's the connective tissue in between that are like pushing the muscles to move in this way or that way to all fit together for basic movements. That's what this stuff does. We're gonna start cleaning this guy up. I'm gonna start by taking off this sinew on top. And the name of this game is keep all the meat on the steak and your silver skin as clean as possible. This is the easy part before we get to the hard part. This is warm up. If you look really closely, you can see a grain. And when you're cutting silver skin, you always want to go with the grain. If you go against it, it just like will not ever come off cleanly. And this thick piece of sinew goes all the way through, but it doesn't just go through flatly, and it's not that thick. So it thins out, and it also kind of like waves down on each side, which is what makes this steak so hard to get to.
This is the hardest part because you can see the first half, but the second half is always like a wave, and it's different every single time.
This is sloping this way. That is moving that way. This grain's going this way. That grain is going that way. So it's a really, really difficult thing, and it's just getting so much thinner. It's very hard to trace this sinew, which is why we save it as almost one of the last things that a butcher ever learns here. Before we've even finished it, this is the amount of like sinew and a little bit of meat that I have already taken out of the flat iron. We don't really do anything with this. If you do something with this, let us know. I would love to learn how to be using all of this silver skin in a more productive way. We don't want to throw it out.
One thing that you actually might see in a grocery store is the whole flat iron cut into steaks horizontally like this, so it looks nice and lean, but it has a thick tendon running through the center of it. Makes zero sense why you would cut a steak that way if you like a really tender steak with an inedibly chewy part stuck in the middle, which is why we actually do separate it.
And there you have it. We'll still do a little bit more cleaning, but those are our two flat irons. If Brent had been working as fast as I know he can, breaking down a shoulder, it probably would have taken, what, 15 minutes to break the whole thing down?
Just to break it down, but then to clean the steaks usually takes about twice as long. So 10 to 15 minutes just to break that down, but then 10 to 15 minutes just to clean the flat iron steak.
That might be why it's not seen as a like worthwhile endeavor to get this steak. Butcher shops have been carrying it forever, but for the big meat market,
not in an industrial system. When you're trying to move as quickly as possible, you're not going to take the time to seam this out. When you're taught to shop for steak, you're usually looking for intermuscular fat to equate tenderness. But when we're looking at a muscle, we actually want to look at muscle fiber. By looking at that, we can tell about how tender it's actually going to be.
yeah, they're actually both really good indicators, but we're always taught fat is flavor, but that's not the whole story.
In an industrial system, fat is the only thing that really does carry flavor, but for pasture-raised animals, the muscles that do the work carry a ton of flavor, but sometimes they're actually just lean.
Teach us about muscle fibers and what you're looking for.
The easiest way to tell the difference between muscle fibers is to look at something like the filet, which does zero work and has very small muscle fibers, almost indistinguishable. Flat iron, right next to it, is also very, very similar, but we're not looking at a cross-section. But then if you look at something like this piece of trim, we have huge muscle fibers here, and by looking at that distinct difference, you can tell this is not going to be tender. This definitely is. So why would our flat iron actually be tender?
It's not that hard working, but it's getting all the flavor from being grouped into a large group of muscles that are doing a lot of work. Just by virtue of being in the shoulder, being used 24 hours a day by the animal, it's building up a lot of flavors. The fillet is the most tender muscle on the animal from a scientific perspective. It is the most tender. The flat iron, from a scientific perspective, is the second most tender muscle on the animal. It has so much more flavor. but it's a fraction of the price.
The customer's coming in for the first time. I went to a whole animal butcher shop. I want to try something new.
Yeah.
They think, oh, I got to get the most expensive thing. That's going to be the best thing. You don't have to. Talk to your butcher. Let us make a recommendation because this is a better value and almost absolutely foolproof. You're going to be super happy with it. And if you overcook it a little bit, okay, it's still going to be fantastic. Great day for outdoor grilling. Our grill is hot, we're ready to go. Hot and fast, we're cooking for maybe 6 minutes. Get as rare as we can.
It's hot out here. It's hot down here.
It's hot everywhere.
It's hot everywhere. Like we said earlier, this steak has a lot of flavor, so we're just doing salt and pepper.
We're cooking this directly over the coals, which a steak that has a lot more fat to it is gonna drip, it's gonna flare up, you're gonna have to move it around a little bit. We flip this once in 3 minutes, we're almost done. You literally cannot mess it up.
And don't get it twisted. You don't always need fat. Fat equals flavor, but it ain't everything.
Caramelize both sides. Feels done. I think we're there.
Our steak is rested. It feels very nice.
Oh, wow. That is super tender, but still has more texture than a filet.
Yeah.
But the flavor is just absolutely phenomenal. It's beefy. It's got a little bit of that minerality from the grass.
Any steak that you can just kind of pull apart like this, yo, that texture is gonna be dope.
That's tender.
That's gonna be tender.
That's tender.
Where does this rank in your steak power rankings? Top 5, top 10?
Top 5. This is such an amazing weeknight meal. Good with absolutely anything. I could never really get tired of this.
Yeah, agree.
If you like filet mignon, but you want a more flavorful but cheaper option, flat iron's the way to go.
That's your huckleberry.
I'm your huckleberry.
Oh, that's my huckleberry.
Does that make me?
Have a good night.